Hi, this is Timothy Watson here with the on-record portion of the Rockbridge Report. I'm here today with Dusan Janjic of the Rockbridge Global Village, and we are going to be talking about a little bit about upcoming broadband that'll be coming to Rockbridge County. Mr. Janjic, now we spoke for the first time a few weeks ago, and you had a few slight things to say about the current state of telecommunications and internet access in Rockbridge County. Could you air that out a little bit and tell us a little bit sort of what the limitations are of current broadband access in Rockbridge County, and what sort of businesses and households, what exactly are they dealing with when they sign up for internet and for telephone and things of that nature?
Currently in our area we have basically three providers, Rockbridge Global Village being one of them. We also have CenturyLink, recently changed the name from Embark, and we have a Comcast. All these providers provide broadband to their customers mostly over the copper networks, which is basically very limited to what it can deliver. The maximum today, what we can do is a 10 megabits per second speed download and about 3 megabits per second uploads. That's the fastest we can go with the current infrastructure. The broadband project will first enable us to have a middle mile portion of that network built with fiber. It will connect all the anchor institutions, which are about 50 in the county. I think the network will have about 130 miles of fiber built initially, and then in the next phase of the project, when the money starts coming in, I think the plan is to actually build the last mile portion, which will then connect homes and businesses and or smaller businesses. There will be some businesses that will be connected initially.
And let me ask you about sort of the federal stimulus money that was received. What parties were involved in obtaining the stimulus money, and where exactly do they plan on using it? Where's the physical infrastructure of the new project going to be placed?
Well, for the grant money, Rockbridge County, Lexington City, and City of Buena Vista had formed what's called Rockbridge Broadband Authority. They have also formed a RANA, which is Rockbridge Area Network Authority. This authority is comprised of several, each city has its own representative, and then there's some representatives from the local businesses and from Washington and Lee, who was instrumental in providing a 20% match for the grant. So the grant was depending on 20% match. In other words, anybody who applied for that grant had to supply 20% in cash or donations. So, and part of the role that Rockbridge Global Village plays, we're supplying some smaller amount of money as well.
And now you mentioned that Washington and Lee is involved. I've come to understand that it's going to be something of an information center. It's going to be housed at the university.
Washington and Lee was planning to build a data center. And that's how I learned, because I know a few people here, and that's how I learned that this data center will go up. I dreamed sort of, and when I approached Washington and Lee, I basically asked them to consider the following. What about, we're applying for this grant. What about if your data center becomes part of this grant, and that money that you're going to spend becomes part of this 20% match? That was met with interest. Then people that needed to talk about this talked here and decided this was a great idea, and that's how we moved on.
Let me ask you a little bit more personally, your personal involvement with RGV, and can you give me a little background as to exactly how it began, and sort of so how it's grown to what it is today.
Which, the RGV or,
Yes.
okay. Well, RGV was formed with, in 1994 with a partner of mine who had since then left the area. But he and I thought of that we knew that need existed. Need for access to the internet, or affordable access. He was a member of the IT team at Washington and Lee, and I was a member of chemistry department at that time. So we kind of thought about this, and we borrowed a little bit of money, bought the equipment, bought some space, actually rented some space, and hired a few people, set it up, and we were first offering dial-up. And that was 1994 when on the first day, actually, it was funny because we had a line of people waiting to sign up because, you know, internet was something that nobody, or basically people heard about it, but they really didn't know what it is. So that's how it started in 1994, in November, actually. So we're about a month away from our birthday. Or actually, not yet, a few days. Mm. So that's how it started. Then we grew to become also a telephone company. Then we decided that the only way to survive in this business is to start offering high speed, which we started examining in 1996. And we were actually the first one here in Rockbridge County to offer high speed to the customers.
And you say that there's really there's 3 service providers right now in Rockbridge County working with the copper that's sort of been implemented. What will this mean? What will the new broadband, installation project? What will it mean in terms of competition? Are there going to be other firms coming into the county to also provide service?
Well, the way we envisioned, I say we, RANA, envisioned this project is that the network will be fully open access network. So anybody who wants to offer services on this network and meets some criteria will be able to. If you want to offer services, and you meet the criteria, you will be able to do that as well. So hopefully that will bring the competition and more providers and more choices for the customers.
And that would likely, I guess, would mean to lower prices and better service in the best of imagination.
Correct.
And moving on that way, there's also a business aspect to it. I know that this project is going to bring this high-speed capabilities to hospitals, public buildings, things of those nature. What about private business? Can we expect there to be an economic development coming out of this project?
Well, I think the whole project is envisioned as an economic development vehicle. I think in our first interview I told you about one of the counties down in southeast Virginia that recently announced that Microsoft picked them to build a $500 million data center, and simply one of the reasons they had was they had a good power, they had a good location, and they had a good broadband infrastructure. If we bring a $500 million project to Rockbridge County, it will be great. Let's hope.
That's very interesting, and coming from personal experience, we have just some difficulties in town using the internet on occasion. In terms of the average citizen, and it seems that there already is some broadband available, but what about people that are sort of a little further out into the county? People living sort of actually in Rockbridge County, not perhaps in Lexington or Buena Vista?
That is part of where we come in as a partner to this project. I mentioned that we're a telephone company, which also gives us access to this copper infrastructure. So in this first part of the project, it is envisioned that we will build, right now we have about 10 of these remote locations in the county where we deliver high-speed services. As a part of the project, we will basically cover about 95% of the county with DSL service. That is the plan. Eventually, we will be able to offer, and hopefully in the next, I don't know exactly year plans, how many years, but we will be able to deliver fiber to some of these locations. And that will increase the speed.
I'm wondering, one of the most immediate applications that I've heard of is with Stonewall Jackson Hospital, in terms of data, imaging, and being able to pass that to local doctors and things like that. There is a rather sizable elderly population here in the county. Now, can you imagine that that will make sort of that commute and sort of their interactions with doctors a little easier than it currently is?
Well, I think part of the retirement community, Kendall, I think, will be on this network, or I think it's in the plan. You know, the final plans are not here yet, but you know, the network is in developing stage. So if the Kendall becomes part of this network, I know that they internally have a high-speed network, local area network, so each cottage is connected to their switches, similar to Washington and Lee. So if they connect to this network, then the interaction between hospital and that community will be seamless, pretty much.
And going back a little bit to sort of the development, you say we're sort of in the development stage of implementation stage of getting everything sort of on the ground. I spoke with Dan Grimm recently, and he told me they recently developed a project management team.
Correct.
And would you mind giving us an idea of who's on the team and exactly what they're going to be doing?
Well, I can't tell you because I don't know the contract is signed. So I know that the committee had made a recommendation who the management team should be, and I know that RAN Authority is negotiating the contract, but I can't tell you who it is because it's not signed yet. So. And
those will be members just of the Rockbridge community?
No, that will be actually the outside firm.
And so they'll be actually bringing people into Rockbridge to help with it. And how big would the team perhaps be?
Well, there is a project manager, there is an engineering firm that is involved because you have to do a good part of the engineering. And there's also, there are strict requirements to reporting back to the federal government. I think they will take a role in some of that as well.
I'm thinking, where are we exactly? Where do we stand? What's a realistic timetable for implementing sort of the money?
Okay, well, once this contract is negotiated with the management team, their immediate job is to start working on the engineering part. We are already working on the environmental impact study. Actually, we have to submit to the government what the environmental impact of this will be. It's relatively straightforward, but it still needs to be done. Once the engineering is done, which is probably about 6 months, the government has to approve that part, I believe. And I'm not good on details, but I think they will need to approve this, and then the build-out starts.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. This is Tim Watson, talking for the Rockbridge Report. Thank you so much, Mr. Janjic. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
All right.